I joined today the Hudson Institute for a conversation with academic and columnist Hector Chames on how Latin American governments' approach to foreign policy destabilizes the region and what a better approach might look like. Let's watch.
Cannot go to society to ask them for more sacrifice and that nowadays. And sometimes the politics is, leaves me, confused. He, on the other hand, President Milei communicates something important. He communicates to me, he communicates, I'm here to do what I think is right. If I cannot do it, I don't have to be here to do something else. And that's quite original for a politician, at least in Argentina, but not only in Argentina, as you know, in several places as well.
On the foreign policy front, he is unabashedly pro-American. He supports Israel. He is taking a different stance on Ukraine than his predecessor.
Yeah.
Could this mark a shift in the foreign policy approach of the region?
Perhaps it would, and I agree with those stance. U.S. Middle East. Again, it comes down to norms and principles. You side with democracies, wherever they are. That can get you. You can be wrong occasionally, but in the long run, that's going to make you right, most likely. He's active with Ukraine. He's collaborating. His government is collaborating with Zelensky's idea of a Ukraine-Latin American summit. I find that to be important, and I find that positive, of course. And let's see how it goes. A shift for everybody, sort of a collective shift. Well, that remains to be seen, I would say.
Beyond foreign policy, I'd like to get your perspective on the region as a whole. It feels like much of the region is a bit adrift. Very low growth, political polarization.
Yeah.
Many governments facing significant domestic crises with sort of not a lot of latitude for action. Diminished appetite for cooperation on between countries in the region on very pressing issues. How do you see the region broadly moving forward?
It's tough. And also I would add, Daniel, the resiliency of our old, traits, poverty, inequality, etc., discrimination. All together is a very explosive mix that the pandemic magnified in a big way. And at the same time, it has put a lot of strain on our institutions. Very little respect for our the operation of our institutions on the part of leaders and opposition as well, on the part of society. The disdain for constitutional mechanisms. We see it all around. We have organized crime. We have the Bukele solution, typical example, with the concentration of power in his hands, with the total amount of public power in his hands. And he's successful so far fighting organized crime. Good for that. Now, is that political reconfiguration a necessary condition to fight organized crime successfully? The problem is that I don't think so, because it's only a question of time until, and I'm not picking on El Salvador, I'm just using it as a good example of what's a fundamental issue and a proposed solution, right? Heavy hand, mano dura is attractive, but it must be done with the law, with the Constitution. It's just a question of time that the citizenry stop fearing organized crime. In those terms, we'll start fearing being, fearing another criminal organization, the state, that operates without law, without due process, etc., etc. And if so, there is one evil for another, and it's not a good solution either.
Yeah, so in that litany of evils, I didn't even mention the rise of populism and democratic regression in the region. It seems like the only momentum in the region is behind the authoritarians in the region.
Well, I'm always agnostic on the very word populism. That's one thing. Academically, I hardly ever use it. I use it only as a historical phenomenon of, post-1930s, post-World War II Latin America. What there is a erosion of constitutional mechanisms and respect for those institutional norms. And it happens so pervasively. I just, look, I've known populist movements and parties that gave up power, didn't perpetuate themselves in power. Peronism gave up power. The PRI gave up power. They reformed the electoral system, and in 2000, the PRI lost an election, and the incumbent president transferred power. Cedillo, PRI president, transferred power to Vicente Fox, PAN president, PAN candidate and president. I think that's a critical issue, that the word populism itself clouds our understanding sometimes with that. The issue is there are so many presidents in office tinkering with the rules to stay longer than the time period they were elected for. And that's fraud. That's fraud for the voters, and that's a violation of the letter and the spirit of the Constitution. Now, the constitutions can change, but not for my benefit while I'm in power. When that happens, it's a violation of trust in the system, and society takes notice, always does.
Well, Hector, I want to thank you for coming to Hudson today, and thank you for ending on a positive note. And I want to thank our audience for coming today. I think there's been an important conversation. You provided some insights on some topics that I've been grappling with, and which I have not been able to see a clear way forward on. So thank you for your insights.
Well, thank you.